I think me more than a lot of other people, I would say I'm pretty extroverted. Like I'm always going around like, hey, what's going on? Like, just talking to random people, like inviting people over, doing stuff. Um, and I think it's important not only to, make friends and stuff, but just, these people you're talking to are just going to be your future associates and people you're working with. Because not only will, they need you for certain projects, like you might need them. So
Welcome to episode 9 of the Not Network podcast. Today, our special guest is Patrick Foley, aka Patrick 4D. Please enjoy the episode and remember, we're not networking, we're making friends.
All right. It was November 17th, 2019, around 8 p.m. I just got off of work from Shake Shack and was looking to mellow out with some good vibes on YouTube. Just recently, I downloaded Cinema 4D version R16 and was just messing around. Eager to use this new program, I went on YouTube to find some tutorials, but most of them looked super lame and didn't tell me how to use the interface. That is until I stumbled on Patrick 4D abstract tutorial. Immediately, I hunkered down for the 40-minute vid and replicated a similar 3D orb sprinkled with audacious cloners and actually found out how to use the program. So in essence, Patrick was my 3D dad. Taught me the fundamentals in his Skillshare classes and inspired me daily on Instagram with his bold, affluent renders. So without further ado, I have the pleasure of welcoming graphic designer, 3D artist, director of photography, producer, and all-around a stellar dude, Patrick Foley. Patrick, how are you, King?
Wow, what an intro, man. I was wondering if I had a kid out there. And I'm glad to figure out that was you. So, hell yeah.
It's me.
Dope intro.
Long lost kid.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm super, like I said, I'm super stoked, dude. I've been following you for a really long time and basically just on Instagram, but like I started with you. Right. You were it was the orb thing. I bet you get tagged in that a bunch.
Right.
Patrick, he's done a lot of things. He has like over 70,000 followers on Instagram. He's done product designs or not product designs, but renders for like Reebok, Adidas. He's been featured on XXL magazine. Like we stalked you. We cyber stalked you just a bit.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I was just wondering, where did this passion come from? Because you do so much. Like,
yeah.
What hats don't you wear? Where does this come from?
Man, I don't know. It started, I guess, from photography. Like actual photography was like the first kind of like spark of creativity. I mean, I guess as like a kid, I was always just running around doing random stuff. I was always a kid that was out of line. Like my brother, I said, was more in line with like the mainstream stuff. I always kind of liked, taking photos of random stuff. Like when I first got my first camera in high school, I was like running around with my buddies, like just taking photos. Like, and I was like that guy for a little bit. I was, for some reason we had like a Photoshop class in my middle school, which is just like unheard of, I feel like. And I did a little bit of that. It was all right. But I didn't get my first like DSLR camera till like midway through high school. And I started like shooting a bunch of photos and eventually started doing a little bit of videos because those cameras did, video stuff. And then I was like, well, I like music too. Let's try like music videos. And then, one thing led to another. We're shooting like a bunch of free music videos for friends and like local people. And then that was kind of like the birth of like my, I guess, film career, which was like in high school. So while everyone was like kind of doing the regular high school stuff, I was like shooting music videos on like the weekends, going to Chicago, taking the train, just like these full day shoots, like breaking my back. But like I didn't care because it was just like super fun at the time. And each new video, I'd be like trying new editing stuff and getting like new equipment, getting like LED stuff. So it was like a huge jump start because once I got to college or SCAD in Atlanta, I went for film. And I was kind of at like a head start above a lot of people because, everyone else kind of like enrolled in these like classes in college. Like, all right, let me try this now for the first time, just like most people do in college. And I kind of already had like a background. but I didn't know a lot of like the technical terms. I was like, I didn't really know what like a producer was or what like a DP was, but I was just like, I'm like a camera guy, like I shoot and stuff. So it wasn't until like kind of when I enrolled in these classes where I was like, oh, so I'm like a DP, and like I've been producing this whole time. I didn't really even realize it. So that's where that stuff all started, and it wasn't until like middle of college to where the 3D stuff even began to happen.
Sweet. I love it how you're just so like nonchalant. Yeah, I went to SCAD. Yeah, I've been, Oh,
yeah, it's hard to. I don't even know how to like pace it. Like I mean, it could be like a really long story, or it could be like that was kind of like the very short story of it all. But like, yeah.
For sure.
Definitely.
For sure. I really I like that about you. It's just like you have a lot of development, I think, really compacted, which is nice to see, and you can definitely tell. Actually, it's kind of hard. I think it was hard to tell on your Instagram because I went through all the way to the bottom. I went through the top, looking at your daily renders, and there were, even from the beginning, like it was really polished. You have really great lighting.
Yeah.
Something that I'm envious of, and your composition is really cool. Sometimes when I look at it, I'm reminded of like Hoodass.
Right.
When he does this stuff.
He was like
you see an inspiration?
He was the very first guy I saw. I'm talking back in like late high school. This is before I even knew really what cinema was or anything. Like I remember in high school, I dabbled in Blender for a second, but I was like, I don't know what it was. It might have been the UI at the time before Blender 2.8 or something.
Yeah.
But it never clicked with me. I was like, this is cool, but I don't know. For some reason, I never took off, never got into it. But I saw that guy's work and I was just like, wow, I don't know what this is. But this is like insane. And then I rediscovered his work back when I started doing this stuff again. And I was like, damn, if I could like make stuff like this, my life would be complete, like legit. And so, yeah, I think part of the reason from the beginning, I mean, that first thing that you're talking about, the first render that I posted, that was literally the first day I opened up cinema. Like, it wasn't like I like did a bunch of training beforehand, did all this stuff, and then like started this account and like had this whole archive stuff. That was the first day, like legit, I started this stuff. And I think it was just because, the background and lighting, like I knew to not, I think most people, if you don't have like a film background, are like, oh, put a light here that's got to do the trick. Like it's lit, just right in front of the whole thing. Like versus like, no, it's going to look flat. It's not going to have any mood to it. It's going to be, so what I just had to learn was, the render, how to render stuff, the render settings, because like cameras wise, like all those settings were pretty. And I was like, oh, how do I make a shot?
You had those down.
Let me just change the aperture. So that kind of stuff came a little bit second nature to me. And I think that's why, it's the lighting. People think it's like the modeling and all like the texturing. I mean, that's part of it. But
I think something that takes like a DP from one level to the next level, especially when you're amateur and starting out, is what you're talking about, the lighting.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to grab your camera and put people in place and make things like look interesting in a framing composition type of way, but the lighting is really what takes it way up to that next level. And that's what I was noticing scrolling through all your stuff. I was like, dude, this looks crisp and nice. It's not just because you have a nice camera. Like it makes a big difference to have some color, good lighting, not make it flat like you're talking about.
Right. No, I think you're 100% because I would get a lot of, even like towards the end of high school, like all the music videos I was shooting were with this like Canon 7D, just like this DSLR, this mid-level DSLR that happened to shoot video. You didn't even have that many settings, couldn't even shoot in log or anything. And I would even have people ask me if I shot on like a red, and I was like, dude, like that just shows you how much lighting plays a part. It's like I would much rather shoot with like a DSLR that doesn't even shoot log with like proper lighting than like a red in many instances, or like an Alexa with no lighting, no nothing controlled, all that stuff,
Did you have a studio? I was looking at your profile and it started saying like Huge Production. Was that your company?
Yeah, that's what I went. That's like the name I went under for a while. Kind of that started even in high school. I was like, well, I need a name for all this stuff. Like I couldn't be like Patrick 4D wasn't a thing. Like that had nothing to do with anything. So I came up. That was I remember I was like trying to figure out a name, and I went to like the dictionary or whatever, and I was thinking of words that mean like vibrant, colorful, and like hued was literally like one of the words. And I looked, I was like, is this trademarked? And it wasn't. And I was like, okay, sweet. It was literally wasn't anything more than that. I was just like, that's a cool name for this. And then,
That's sick.
yeah. And so that was how that was born. But at this point, I mean, it's been such a gradual, like midway through college is when I started the 3D stuff, was still doing 99% film, making money with the film and then, or with the 3D stuff. And, at about like my senior year of college, I was starting to get to that 50-50 mark where I was doing like 50% like 3D work, like commissions and stuff.
Oh, really?
50% film work. So I was like, wow, at this point, like I'm actually like, this is no longer like a side kind of hobby thing and more like, this is like half of my income. And it just worked out perfectly because I was just starting to make enough money to where, I mean, it was like most people when you graduate college, you're looking for a job, your entry level job, trying to get like a paycheck. And I was just at that point where I didn't have to rely on that. I was like doing the film stuff by myself and then the 3D stuff, and both those things combined, I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm fine like living off all this stuff. And I've been graduated for like 2 years now, maybe 2.5.
That's crazy, dude.
And now at this point, it's like 95% 3D stuff.
Sick.
Wow.
I have a question. Where do you get like the courage to, I guess, start your own company, or say like I have the authority and the prestige and the eye to do this? Because that's super young. Like in high school, if you started there, and then being a senior in college and at that 50-50 mark, that's extraordinary.
I don't know.
Where do you think that comes from?
Yeah, the courage. I don't know. I think a lot of it comes from, well, at least for the 3D stuff, there was never any like expectation for me to be like good at all or do anything that was like making a ton of money off this. That was literally just for fun. Like I didn't have, when I first posted those first few renders, I mean, for the first year, I thought that was just like this hobby I think was pretty cool. And like at most, maybe I could do like some cool artworks or like album covers or whatever. But there was never that expectation of like, oh, I got to be like better than this guy or better than that guy or like anything like that. So I never had I was just like, here, I'll post this. Like there was never like any high stakes. It was just, I think this looks pretty cool. Like I haven't been doing it for that long. Not to mention like the motion graphics industry, compared to the film is so much like less cutthroat. Everyone's willing to like give, information out, upload. I mean, that's the reason I was able to learn. Like the same way you did, literally looking up stuff on YouTube.
For sure.
And it's like, it's such a little, like for, the amount of people that follow me on Instagram, I've gotten like maybe a handful, like literally like maybe 5 comments throughout like 4.5 years of doing this that are kind of like, dick comments or like, oh, like this looks bad or anything like that. Like nobody throws shade in this stuff. It's all just like really positive stuff. So I just like gravitate towards this industry more in general.
Yeah, that's what we've noticed and talked about a little bit over the past few episodes of this, is just how giving people are with their information.
Right.
And just like you said, it's not cutthroat at all. It's like with art, it's something a little bit different because no matter if you have the same software and all the same skills and tools and setup and everything, everyone's going to make something completely different from one another. So it's great to see kind of that process and that humility, I think, from people.
Totally, man.
Yeah, when you said dick comments, I was like, I was trying to think. I think it was
not
like,
literally.
What? Yeah. I know.
Just really sending pictures of their dick to me, dude. Wow.
Yeah, you got some good renders out there.
Although, I do have a fair share of penis renders, which I'm not totally proud of, but
Hey, they look good though.
They really do.
Yeah.
Really strong.
They're lit well.
So they're lit, yeah. There's you have such a really big community, and that's super encouraging to hear that you've only had like five really assholes on there. But like sometimes I see somebody with like a mean comment or like roasting you, and then I like tap on their profile, and then I see like, oh wait, you're following them. They must be like a friend or something. And I think that's super grand that you also throw shade back. You know what I'm talking about.
There was that one like era where I was like roasting my buddy's mom every day. Yeah, that guy's name is Dave. He used to be my roommate.
Shout out to Dave.
Yeah, and nobody knew that was like a fake thing. Everyone was like, who is this guy like trolling? He's like, so
What is this
you need to get a life. And I would have people on my end literally just like bitching him out. And yeah,
fun for you.
yeah, it was hilarious because he'd be like over here and we'd be like reading them together and I'd be like, damn, dude. Somehow I'd try to roast him about his mom every single time. So that was fun.
That's awesome.
Your mom jokes never get old, dude.
No,
No.
dude, they really don't. Love them. Speaking about moms, speaking about family, I know that some of your family are artists, and you mentioned that your brother was sort of went on this. You strayed from the path, but he kind of stayed on it. Is your brother sort of an artist, or is this like
He's
part of like a family of
He's
creatives?
definitely as artistic as I am in many senses. Like the only difference was he chose to take like a career path that was more, I guess, mainstream, which I mean, he works at like this startup company right now working
Sick.
for like this AI. It's like a legal tech company and they work with like AI softwares. It's pretty complicated, but
Sounds like it.
he's liking it. I mean, he graduated from University of Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Less than a year ago, I think, and so he's killing it. He's liking it, and he actually coincidentally moved out here to this town called Buckhead, which is like 15 minutes from me. Which that's super cool to have family down here. So we're kind of we all came from Chicago. Now we're kind of like in the Atlanta area.
Yeah. Was it growing up in Chicago? Was it hard to get creative, or was it more of like an easy space to be like, you know what, I'm gonna do whatever I want and I'm gonna go with the flow?
I mean, Chicago was it's a huge city, so I mean, you could do a lot there in many different industries. It was good and bad. I mean, for the stuff I was doing a lot of music videos, and being close to Chicago, everyone was doing like the drill rap and like all that. That's when I started getting into like that kind of music, I guess, like, you know, rap and whatever. And like my friends, I mean, I come from a pretty like suburban white, like kind of area. And so I'd be going up to like the hood on the weekends, like just shooting rappers, and they'd have guns out and stuff. And like, wasn't crazy about that, but that's literally the stuff that was able to, I mean, it was just like endless content. I was able to help these guys out. They were able to help pay me a few $100 per shoot, and just like,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah, my mom wasn't excited that I was going to like the hood 24/7 to, you know, shoot music videos, but you know,
They'd have guns pointed at you. She wasn't a fan of that.
yeah, she thought I was the only one doing the shooting. But
Nice.
so it was, I don't know, it was kind of it allowed me to get a lot of content, meet a lot of people, and led to some relationships in Atlanta. And yeah, that's how that stuff was. I mean, Chicago was good. They had a lot of music. It was a little bit too gang affiliated and like, you know, guns and stuff, but everything kind of played its role, and, you know, things popping into place.
Yeah.
Shout out to Chicago.
Shout out to Chicago. And I bet being in Atlanta now, I mean, that's like, there's a lot of hip hop there. It's like hip hop culture in Atlanta, for sure. And doing a lot of music videos. You've worked with who, like Migos, Offset, those guys, right?
Yeah, no, it was, I came down here to shoot for a buddy of mine, Michael Aristotle, now a buddy of mine. And at the time, yeah, I said it in a few other places, but my mom was just like, you're not going to skip school to shoot a rap music video in Atlanta. And right when we were supposed to be looking at like colleges. And so I was like, well, all right, well, I'll visit this school called SCAD just to get it out of the way, just so I can visit and like shoot this video. So
Wow.
I came here and shot the stuff. I saw the school and I was like, oh, that's cool. They got film and all that stuff. And I was asking these guys down here when I was shooting, I was like, is it worth moving out here? Like, is there like music? I didn't know anything really about the scene down here. They're like, bro, are you crazy? Like, it's popping up. We got like all these artists. We have like, you know, Ludacris, like, all these big guys coming out of here, Migos, Rich Homie Quan. And it's just starting to become really big. And I was like, damn, I didn't realize all these guys were from Atlanta. And so I was like, all right, I'm sold. So I came down to Atlanta and just everything kind of happened, or just like kind of fell into place. I mean, the Migos thing was, I'm trying to think, I worked with this guy, Rome Fortune, just shooting this one music video. And he had ties to the guys at QC, Quality Control Music. And I realized at the time I lived pretty close to their studio. And so he took me with him to that studio at one point. And when I was there, Migos were all just recording their next album. and that's how I got connected with those guys. And it's all just like who you know. It's crazy. You just start like meeting people and start shooting. And at that time, though, I was kind of still doing like the lone wolf kind of thing. Like kind of, it's not like every shoot I was doing had like a big crew or anything. And that's really what I was trying to get out of, even though it was cool to meet a bunch of rappers and, you know, Rich the Kid, all this stuff. Like at a certain point, I'm like, all right, I'm not going to be like 30, 35, just following like a rapper. Like it was really hype at the time. Everyone's like, oh, you got to like do shit with like Migos and like Rich the Kid. That was definitely, I'm glad all that stuff happened. But I was like, I can't see myself the older I got doing just like this thing for, you know, I'm not gonna be like 40 years old, like, yo, where are we going? Like just like hopping into a guy's car and just like shooting like random stuff in a studio.
Totally.
Whole place smells like weed, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even like I wasn't looking for the 3D stuff. It kind of just like happened, and it was crazy because like at this point it's so much less backbreaking work of like renting out equipment, hiring people, making sure the artist comes on set on time, and literally just like me chilling here, like dealing with the clients. Like I think it puts, the thing I really like about the 3D industry is it puts a lot more emphasis on like the artist is like the dope guy instead of like the rapper. Like it's like instead of just like, oh, like, you know, all these crew members are like a slave to this rapper to like make him look so sweet, and like they don't really give a shit about you. They're just like, you know, they show up late, there's like whatever, and like you're doing all this work, not even getting paid nearly as much, to then being able to like sit down. People are coming to you for your artistry and stuff like that. It's just a different kind of feeling, you know?
Yeah. Wildly different industry.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you think that the origins of just having that experience kind of helped you gravitate towards Skillshare and teaching, of like looking forward and being like, you know, maybe I could teach these things?
Yeah, I think because I did a few tutorials on YouTube, and this was definitely at a transitional period of mine where I was like, all right, well, I'm doing a lot of this 3D stuff. People are really reciprocating, liking the content. You know, if I want to be able to do this kind of stuff even remotely as like a career or like whatever, is there any way I can like teach this stuff while also making some money and like doing stuff like that? And I found that Skillshare became a really good like backbone of like income, especially as like a freelancer, because this was while I was still in college even. Because I knew there's a lot of people like, when are you gonna release more content, all this stuff? Like, how do you do this? How do you light this? And I was like, seems like there's a demand for it. So I gave it a wing. One of my friends gave me the idea of Skillshare, and I checked it out and I was like, damn, this looks pretty cool. So I just ran with that and started making a bunch of classes. I've been slacking. I need to make another. I have a few classes in the works. I've been so busy with like either client work or like working on other stuff recently.
Life.
But yeah, life, COVID.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, COVID.
How has COVID affected your 4D stuff? Has it helped or has it slacked a little bit? What's been going on
I mean,
there?
honestly, the busiest I've ever been was when like 3-4 months into COVID. It was crazy. Like it really didn't have that much of an effect financially on me. You know, that was one of those like silver linings, I guess. I can't, obviously, unfortunately, you can't say the same for everyone. But you know, a lot of people are in this like really, what do you call it? This really tough predicament where it's like you got this one job you're putting all your eggs into, and it's like, you know, if they're laying people off, you're out of a job and you got to like look. And so in many instances, people say like, oh, just having one job or it's your career, that's like the safe option. But like, I mean, the COVID thing is like proven, you know, even more so that being freelance, what should have been like the really risky thing is like, if anything, less risky. Because if you get dropped from a client or whatever you want to call it, you still have all these other people who are, you know, looking for work. It's not like a regular 9 to 5 where you got to find this other whole job and go through the interview process. But as far as me being busy on when COVID started, it was, I mean, there's a bunch of companies that I was working for that, you know, their products thrive when everyone's stuck at home, you know?
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
So That's interesting. You bring the kind of business side up about COVID and about like losing your job. I didn't lose my job, but I was incommunicado with my job
Yeah.
for like a good 3 weeks because I didn't have my license to serve yogurt. I work at a yogurt shop.
Wait, you said you were
but
what at your job?
I work at a yogurt shop. I didn't have my license. I needed a manager's license because I was the only one in the shop.
Oh,
Um, yeah, so I didn't have work, and but when you bring it up for like people in that stage where it's either one job or like no money, it's like one set of income. Do you find the values of like YouTube and Skillshare bringing up passive income, creating a class and then like letting that sit and you doing other stuff and you could work day jobs and then that just
yeah.
allocates money for people who are drawn to it.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things, the one thing, even though, like I just said, freelancing could be, the move or less risky than some other options, especially nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain things that come along with being a freelancer. Like in college, like, I was working on like, if it weren't for me busting out like, the dailies every single day while in college and doing all this background work, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. So like, you can't really treat like an art school or doing this kind of stuff like a regular liberal arts college where like, oh, I'll just wait till the end and then like stuff will just fall into place. Like you kind of got to be working 24/7 to make sure you can like, provide for yourself and have everything set in stone when you're graduated. But yeah, part of that comes with like, having a bunch of passive income stuff where it's not just commissions that are, keeping you afloat. You got, classes you're doing. Currently I'm working on my like first product I'm going to release, which is like this HDRI, package.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'm trying to like buckle this down. Like the past few weeks, I've been just like going out and taking like just driving to so many locations, literally hand making these like HDRIs to fit kind of like my workflow. Everyone's always like, I mean, that was another thing, always be thinking about what can, how you can, help a bunch of people that are looking at your content. Well, because everyone's always like, how did you light this? And I've had a bunch of classes on how to light and stuff on Skillshare, but I've never actually had like I've never offered anything like an actual, something you can implement into your scene,
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, I can just make a bunch of HDRIs that's literally what better way than handing out the, or giving the answer to that question than just like giving like a product or a package that can like give people actual HDRIs. So, yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Excited about
One
that.
of your first videos was about how to create an HDRI.
Yeah, dude, that was,
I think that just goes to show.
that was literally so bare. That was like one of my first, that was Skillshare, right?
Yeah, Skillshare.
Yeah. And that was like, and those were just like panoramics with like your phone. So, I mean, it got the job done, it got like, if you take those photos, like 95% of the time, if you just need like some dope reflections and dope general lighting, I mean, that'll do the trick. And I think most people just don't realize that, or, I mean, these next ones will be like legit 6K HDR files. Like,
oh, dude.
Yeah. So like, fully panoramic, not just like the, I think the iPhone one like cut off. It wasn't even 100% 360 degrees.
Yeah, it wasn't.
But it was good. It was good for, what it was.
Absolutely. I definitely went out with my penny board and went on top of a lot of parking garages and did a little to get some stuff. And that's because I watched your video. So most of my stuff is because
nice, man.
Custom HDR.
Hell yeah.
Thanks.
Good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
So, something I noticed about you, Patrick, going through a lot of your stuff is like, you are diversified, and we've talked a lot on this podcast about doing more than one thing. And it seems like you kind of like you see something and you feel like it's cool, and then you just like do it, and for some reason it turns to gold. But that's just like, that's not how it works, right? Like you were talking about how much work you have to put into things, and you've done dailies for your 4D stuff. And it's not just as simple as like, oh, I got this program and I started, but like at the same time, it kind of is. Do you kind of see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you have to start somewhere, but you still have to put in some work. Can you shed some light on how it kind of works?
For sure, man. I mean, I think I've had so many friends of mine, like I have friends from even in high school who will be like, they're asking me like, dude, how do you like, I don't know. They'll ask me how I like stick with something, or like, I've tried all these things. Like, for instance, I have a buddy of mine who is interested in like making like electronic music, like DJ stuff. And I remember he got this software. I was like, oh, dope. You just got to stick with it. I told him about, how I was sticking with the dailies. It's a different industry, but just same concept of learning the program, learning the music
Absolutely.
side. And it'd be like, he'd try for like a week maybe and be like, dude, like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not really getting anywhere with it. I'm like, dude, it's been a week. Like,
Yeah.
like not even giving it a month, let alone a year. Like I went a whole year of making stuff in cinema without seeing any job or anything like that, So it's much easier said than done, I will say. And especially if like you have the drive for it. A lot of people don't have the drive. Like you can't really just, I think the drive thing is what kills people more than the actually like learning something. I mean, people see, because I think people realize they're like, oh, I really want to see. They see the end product. They see Kygo. They see Chainsmokers. They're like, dude, that's what I'm gonna get on this. Let me try this. I'm gonna learn the softwares. I'm gonna learn to do this. And it's like a week of it, and they have such short term thinking. They're like, dude, I haven't even like learned all this stuff. Like, there's no way. And I'm just like, I mean, I guess it's fine because you're weeding out the things that you're not really passionate about. But I mean,
Sure.
That's the number one thing that they're giving these people the downfalls, because it's they're not sticking with the thing for longer than like a week or a month or even a week.
Yeah, you got to be in love with the process.
Totally. For some reason, people seem to think when they start doing some type of creative thing or art thing that like it's just. Let me say it this way. Art is viewed as like a very free flowing thing, and you just like it just comes out of you because this is your passion and these are your feelings. But it really does take a lot of work and a lot of drive, like you're saying, and dedication.
Yeah.
Especially to do something like dailies. This is something that I don't have experience with because I'm not a 3D artist or a digital artist in general.
Right.
But like creating something new from scratch every single day blows my mind.
Right.
So how do you draw inspiration from what you see, or how do you come up with something new every single day?
Is it Nickelodeon? Tell us the truth. Is it Nickelodeon? Do they give you all the ideas?
Nah, I think it's Pornhub actually.
It's got to be Pornhub. There's too many dicks.
Right. Right. Actually, yeah, damn. But shit. No, I think, dude, I think honestly, going back to what you were saying originally, I think, and I don't know if it's a today's times thing or what it is, or if it's always been like this with people, but I think in a world where we have so many things at our fingertips, like we can go, we're on Instagram and we search this, or we just Google this, and like we have all this information. We're like, we have the shortest attention span that I think we've ever had, just because of like not only social media, but just like smartphones. You have literally everything you want with a smartphone at the touch of a button. I mean, whether it's literally, it could be dating, you got Tinder, all this stuff, like
Pornhub.
I mean, that too, like legit.
Seriously though. No, seriously.
And so what I'm saying is like, when you try to learn something like a skill, or like you try to give your, like, it's so easy to become distracted or sidetracked, because I think people are looking at, like my buddy, so many people look at the end game. Like you're looking at, you look at hood ass stuff. You're like, oh my God, this stuff is like insane. I want to learn that. Perfect. And then you start diving into the program and you're like, dude, this is like so technical. Like, learn about this, lighting, texturing, and it kind of takes the glamour out of it. But I think someone who's truly passionate, like when I was like going through this stuff, instead of being like, oh dude, what, you can like legit wrap a whole image around this stuff and light it and give it reflections, and like you get to like, instead of being like intrigued by all this stuff, they're kind of just like, dude, I don't care about this, I just want to like get to the top. Like if that's the actual angle, then it's like, and it's pretty cliche, but it's like, it's pretty true, whether it's any industry.
Yeah.
So
definitely. I think that the difference between someone who appreciates art and an artist is someone who appreciates art enjoys that final product.
Yeah.
Mostly. And then an artist enjoys the process, and then the final product is the cherry on top. So like for me, I know that my passion doesn't solely lie in editing because I hate editing.
Right.
I hate the process of editing. It's so tedious and technical, like you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I love the end product, so I appreciate editors. But like the actual process of filmmaking, that's how I know that that's my passion, because that's what I love. I love being on set. I love handling the cameras. I love changing everything, and I love just that process. And then the end goal is the cherry on top. So that's kind of how I view that. And so it sounds like your friend appreciated producing music and stuff like that, but the process was just, it's not for
100%.
everyone.
And I can look at like a like some crazy realtor in like LA or Miami and be like, damn, those guys are like at the top of the top. They're making like millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's like a dope lifestyle. But then I know for a second, once I tried to like sell like a property, I'd be like, dude, this is not fun.
Yeah.
Like I do not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just comes down to that realization. Like, I think with stuff like EDM and like the stuff that just looks super fun, that's the misleading stuff. It's like,
For sure.
oh yeah, who wouldn't want to do that? Like that's like totally like I'm passionate about that. I'd love to like rage 24/7, like be able to drink all the time and like all that stuff. But that's why those things are misleading. I mean, if you're excited about like being a realtor or like being a lawyer, like I think maybe that's a little bit easier to know if you're like really passionate about it than something like, being a damn MMA fighter or like those glamorous looking things.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Absolutely.
Right.
So speaking of the work process, and since you are multifaceted, and this I'm super curious because I'm dabbling into like the different sides of art. I'm getting into illustrating 3D and things like that. And I love them. I love the process. But I forgot who said it, but there's kind of like this, what not everybody talks about is like, of course you need hard work. Hard work is without a question. You need to bust your ass. Done. But you need to bust your ass in specific ways to make you grow, because we can all do like monotonous hard work.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people do monotonous hard work and go nowhere. How do you find out what's not monotonous and what's not? Because it seems like you've grown exponentially, not just like, I don't know, with reach, but with like experience too.
Yeah. So I think you're saying like, how do I know when to actually pursue something new versus whether that would be a waste of time?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, I try to keep a decent gauge on what when I start to plateau and like, all right, I get this, like it's time to move on, like, which is why I think it's important to have series. And like, right now I'm doing like the animal thing. And right now, like I'm challenging myself to do like the animal thing, because I've never really worked on like hair like this before. Not to mention it's like got me sculpting. Like that was the thing. Like for the longest time I was working in just Cinema 4D, just doing like, the abstract stuff. That was like the abstract's so easy when you begin, because it's
putting cloners, Voronoi, fracture.
Yeah, it could be anything, and it's also like it's really good because abstract a lot of times you'll have a lot of like organic looking stuff, which light reflects well. So it's like you can practice your lighting really well on like abstract stuff, your texturing, and so it like at first it was like lighting and texturing. I was working on that, just using the physical render on Cinema 4D, and then I bumped in. Then I was like, all right, well, I should probably learn like modeling. That was like the next thing I tried to do, and I was like, okay, hard surface modeling. Learn to do that more. Was able to kind of fine tune making certain like product types or things like that. Still using just Cinema 4D, and then I think then the next thing was I tried using Pro Render when it just came out. I was like, this is the first like GPU based rendering thing, and that's when I got my first PC actually. I had like a 1080 Ti in there. This was like 2 years ago, I think. No, maybe 2.5 years ago at this point. And I was like, all right, this is becoming a bigger part of my life. So I got a PC. That was another upgrade. And then eventually I added I was only on Pro Render for like I think a few months, and then I was like, all right, let me try Octane. This is a little bit more streamlined. Everybody seems to be using Octane. First time getting introduced to like the node system, that was one of those things. So I was like still kind of changing new ways to progress in that industry. And then after that, I was like, all right, well, I'm pretty much streamlined in Octane using the nodes. And then it was like, yeah, doing a few different types of series. I've did some like environment type stuff, got new plugins, learning those, started using like Turbulence FD, using like smoke particles. And then I was like, all right, well, I get this. And I think then we went through a big change of like trying to get Substance into the mix and like ZBrush. And that's when I started. I was always super scared of like sculpting stuff because I can't draw for shit. I was like, I was always just like, that seems like something that's more for like actual artists, like actual people who draw. But I finally was like, you know what? Let me try it. Like, we'll see. And that was like one of the better decisions I made because I was like, wow, this like actually really isn't like drawing that much at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess what I'm trying to say in the very longest form is like always be like adding new things to the mix. Never just like, because it's easy to see when like I start to plateau and I'm like, all right, well, I get this. I'm just kind of posting stuff and making stuff that I already know at this point. Like I try to every different like series I do, like try to learn some new things. Like, I mean, a month ago I was like, damn, hair. Trying to think how I'd make like a damn chihuahua. So, but at this point, it's just like you get it. So, just always looking for new ways to like progress and like things that a good way is just like, what do I not think I could make? And then just try to make it.
Yeah. That's a great distinction for kind of going back to what we were just talking about of when somebody gets into something, they're normally inspired by somebody. Like, I'm just going to use the example of EDM, like the Chainsmokers. Like, ooh, I want to make something that sounds like that.
Yeah.
Or that's similar to that. But then they start it, and then after a week, it's not even close to that. So you have to set like short-term kind of goals of like, I want to learn this element. And then, okay, I've got that down. Let me move to this element and then this element. And then after a year, you're like making stuff that you had no clue that you would ever be able to make.
Right.
So that seems like what you're kind of saying.
Yeah, it's like the small goals versus just looking at like the massive long-term goal, which is just like partying and like having massive sold-out shows. It's like, okay, of course you're going to get discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I think what I'm really taking away from that was you doing series of you honing in on something specifically.
Exactly.
Because like for the past week I've been like jumping off from like illustrating to Substance Designer to Python, and it's like my focus is up in the clouds and it's nowhere, and I need to be grounded into something. And and that's where you see the growth is because it's the repetition in small increments of time.
Right.
That you really kind of see the growth.
Have you been spending a lot of time in Substance Designer?
I would say I started learning it the past 2 weeks, and I'm actually I'm doing one thing. I found this tutorial that has like 3,000 views. It's like 2 hours, so I know it has material. But past 2 weeks, and it's interesting. It's like the best thing I could compare it to is it's kind of like it's node based, right? And it uses Nuke and After Effects. Like After Effects is like a baby compositor, right? And then Nuke is like what the big boys use in film industries. Yeah. So I would compare Substance Designer to Nuke because you're basically just messing with very binary things like a circle, like a black and white circle, and you're just developing that through the nodes into something like a design or like a material, like fabric, or like what I'm doing, water with bubbles. So a little bit.
Nice.
And diving in. Mm-hmm.
I think that's the next thing I'm gonna try to tackle. I've been into Substance Painter for a while. I got Substance Designer on my machine. I just have not. I didn't want to start because I started Substance Painter and ZBrush at the same time, and I'm like, dude, I cannot be learning three new programs at the same time. So I think I got the first two down. I might start that in like a week or two, maybe.
Dude, bet.
Yeah.
That sounds dope.
Oh yeah.
Cool. The Substance crew, and there's like I'm finding on ArtStation I'm getting more material than I would on like YouTube or Skillshare, because when I go on YouTube, it's like where they talk about Substance, and even when you just go deeper into the programs, like the more complicated the programs get, it's like you're steering away from YouTube and you're going more into niche subjects. So I found most of my stuff on ArtStation. That's where where I like to play around.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of material, Patrick, do you read?
Read as in like
This is just
books.
yes, books or magazines.
Not as much as I
Doesn't
should.
matter.
I was definitely like,
Gotcha.
Same.
what's up?
I was curious that like where are you getting your kind of fundamental basis? I want to just know if you stay grounded. Some people read books, some people run, some people I don't know, do other creative arts. Is that you? Do you dabble into other things other than
What's your
3D?
outlet?
Yeah, what's your outlet basically?
Like hobby, you're saying, or?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be hobby. What's a hobby that kind of influences your artistic field? Because like you said, 3D was your hobby. And so now it's kind of turned into something. Is it still your hobby? I didn't even think
Dude,
about
and
that.
that's the crazy thing. I honestly think it's still like I would consider that to be the hobby. It is not really. It is
nice.
It is yet to be actually feel like oh fuck, I gotta do this. Like the dailies. It's like I still like am looking forward every day to like making the dailies. It's not like oh shit.
Wow.
Like even though it is like pretty much on a schedule, it really is like I don't know how it's been like this. It's probably like a reflection of how I have like OCD or something. But that's another thing too. I mean, I don't think everyone can do the whole like, people are always like, dude, that's like impressive. You can do like this every single day. But I'm not even sure it's a normal thing to be able to do like something like that.
It's definitely not.
You know what I mean? Like I'm always the guy too, like out of my friends, like I'll have like the same song on repeat a lot of times. And they're like every time I got a buddy in the car.
Exact same thing.
Yeah. Every time I got a buddy in the car, my shit will just be on like repeat, and they're like, "Dude, give me the aux." And so, it just, I mean, I think it has something to do with the fact that like, I think I thrive off of, I thrive off of like repetition and like having like like I'm a creature of habit, and so like when I get into a groove, I kind of stick with it, whether it's this music that I like or whatever. Even though I'm freelance, I stick with a schedule, like. Wake up, I have the same routine, go to Starbucks Reserve every day, come back.
Nice.
Also, like I have a coffee maker here, but it's like, as a freelancer, I think it's important to get out and just like in the morning, just like drive around, run some errands, get coffee, come back. So it's like when I come back, I'm like coming to the workplace, even though it's like I already started in the workplace. So just stuff like that.
I think, Patrick, something that I've noticed about our culture that I think is so effed up and kind of what you are saying doesn't have to be that way is the way that we view like work. Like your career is something that you do not enjoy. And then you have a hobby that you do enjoy, but that's not what makes you money because hobbies don't make you money. Your career has this amount of money. I need to make $60K a year and then I'll be set. And then when I get home at 6 p.m., I can go home and do what I want to. That is so like, I don't know why as a society we like.
It's a pretty bleak outlook on life. It's like
it's
like
horrible.
All right, well, if I can like best case scenario, 5 out of the 7 days I'm hating myself. Like
exactly.
So it's
for 10 hours a day.
That doesn't sound fulfilling.
Oh, it's not
Yeah,
fulfilling.
I saw this interview once. It was like one of the saddest things I've ever heard. It was like one of the saddest things ever is waking up before the sun rises and getting home after the sun sets and just like the whole day. Like, you just waste your whole day. Which is why I thought it was important, like for me being a freelancer working from home, to have like massive windows in a place and like light is like constantly, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people like
get out of that dark room.
Yeah, it's like a lot of animators, they're always in like a dark room, like doing their thing, which like I get it. You want to be in like a pretty controlled environment when you're making stuff, but like it's also how you become depressed.
Yeah.
True.
We actually on one of our episodes a couple of weeks ago, we talked a lot about that, why artists are kind of prone to sometimes getting depressed and like because you're so introspective and you're alone like in proximity a lot of times and you're just like in that room doing your thing every single day and it's just like ooh, and it can really kind of take stuff out of you. So I think it is important to get outside, and I think that's part of what Jimmy's question was, like how do you get away from this space a little bit? You go to Starbucks, you go drive around town, you look out the window. Like it's really simple stuff like that that can ground you a little bit.
I think that's a good point too. Like I think that's a good point. Like, and I talked about it in that other podcast thing, but a lot of artists love to be like in their own little bubble, just kind of like closed off and like not just for, staying sane and stuff, but like part of, I think that's self-sabotaging to not be always interacting with other creatives and like talking.
Yeah.
This is, I guess, goes more into like if you're in school and like collaborating with other people from different industries. But people love to be in their own little circle and like the whole outcast thing. And it's just like, how are you ever, especially if you're trying to become a freelancer? Like I still get hit up all the time by people, film and 3D, who I went to school with. And they're like, dude, you still do this? Or is this still what you're doing? Like I thought of you because I had this job and like blah, blah. Versus like if I wasn't, always talking to a bunch of random people at SCAD, they just wouldn't have thought of me,
Yeah, for sure.
So
how much of a difference did SCAD make to you on an purely like an education level versus like a knowing people level? Which one kind of made more of a difference for you at SCAD?
I think knowing people for sure. And some of them go hand in hand. Like I think me more than a lot of other people, I would say I'm pretty extroverted. Like I'm always going around like, hey, what's going on? Like, just talking to random people, like inviting people over, doing stuff. I think it's important not only to, make friends and stuff, but just, these people you're talking to are just going to be your future associates and people you're working with. Right. 'Cause not only will, they need you for certain projects, like you might need them. So, but I think mostly for SCAD, it was the relationships for sure.
Yeah.
Like I said, I went to SCAD, like I came with like a knowledge of film, like a general knowledge. I definitely learned a lot at SCAD, but it was the people. And not even necessarily from the classes I was in, like people just like that I met from different classes or other professors and stuff. And yeah.
I think it's really important that something not a lot of people think about. A lot of people honor like their mentors and people that inspired them. Like for me, like, I don't know, someone like Quentin Tarantino, I really like him as a director, and Christopher Nolan, and people that are like at their peak and, getting to past their prime and getting ready to retire, whatever they're going to do.
Right.
I think it's important to honor your contemporaries as well and like recognize, and this is what made me think of it, what you just said, like these are the people that you're going to be going into the industry with. These are going to be your future peers, people who are going to be, huge one day, like the people that you were honoring, like Tarantino. So I think it's important to talk to people, honor those people, keep connections like interesting, and just be friends with people instead of just networking. And that's the whole point of the podcast.
Yeah.
Not just making a connection to forward yourself, but making a connection because people are people and people are important and
social
connection.
Beings.
Exactly.
So it's like it benefits us to go out.
Literally, like before this, I thought you were a rigged piece of pie.
Oh, and now you know.
Yeah.
Now you know.
Now you know.
I envisioned I was talking to like an actual piece of pie before this. Now I actually have like a grounds of who.
Nice.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
This is the human.
We've
the
made a
human
friend
behind the pie.
that's right, rigged pie. By the way, something that I think is a little slept on as well that me and Jimmy have talked about a lot is just reaching out to people. Yeah. And we've been able to obviously do this with you because Jimmy just reached out in an email.
Yeah. My incessant DMs.
In the DMs. He's still in the DMs.
Oh yeah, Jimmy loves sliding in DMs. That's his favorite activity.
It honestly is.
Put him on blast.
Pastime.
Yeah, and it's important though because especially like you were talking about in the industry of 3D art and Cinema 4D and that type of stuff, like people are a lot more giving than you would think, oftentimes, especially in the creative field because it's a little less cutthroat, like we were talking about.
Yeah.
But it can go a long way to just send a DM or leave a comment and send an email and stuff like that and talk to people and try to forward yourself.
Well, not only that, I think it's like one, I think the way people reach out, like, I mean, still to this day, I'll get DMs or like email sometimes. It's just like people like, is that Alexa?
Yeah, it was Alexa.
That was Alexa. Alexa just decided to chime in.
It is 1:00.
Oh, it's all good.
Sorry about that.
No. I'm not really in like a time thing. It's whatever. But
cool, dude.
What is it called? I mean, I have people that hit me up. They're just like, "Hey" or "Yo" with nothing else. I'm like, "What am I supposed to say?" That just like, "What up?" Like,
yo.
So it helps to actually have like a properly grammatical. It just shows that you took the time to like reach out to someone and like. I mean, I've been like going back and forth with this guy for a minute at this point, but that and just like, yeah, I think I have a few other friends who are running podcasts, and it's like they've given me the same kind of feedback where like, yeah, like people are actually reciprocating because like, I mean, one, it's like, why would you not reciprocate to someone who's trying to like, you know, one, help your brand and like push your name out further, and two, it's like,
Sure.
I mean, if anything, it's just like humbling. People want to talk to you. People want to, you know, pick your brain on stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, who would like react negatively to that?
Yeah, I think we talked about we interviewed somebody yesterday, but it's like in the pod sphere, I guess, last week. Yeah, this guy, his name is Mir, and he's a previous artist, and he did shows for like Game of Thrones, and he's been on like movie sets and stuff like that.
Star Wars, Spider-Man, huge movies.
Yeah, big boy things. Yeah. And one of the main things he said is that it's all about like your ego, and it's fun to kind of play with, you know, the ego fields of like other people of just kind of, you know, first you got to humble yourself and be like, you know, why am I really here? Like, what am I really doing? Oh, I'm trying to gas up somebody. Okay, I'm not trying to, you know, I guess this is not for me to suck my own dick.
Right.
This is for like, you know, I'm trying to let somebody else flex. And if that, you know, flexing, I guess, helps somebody else in their life, then
True.
It's just all around good.
Very true.
Yeah. You know? Art is a very humbling thing, I think, because at its core, it's like something for yourself, but the only reason that you show it to anybody else is because you want them to see it. Yeah. Like, does that make sense? Like, it's not just for you. Like, you don't make all of your art and then not post it. You don't just like keep it all on your wall. It's really for other people to appreciate. And you love it, like we were talking about, you love it for the process. They love it for the final product. So kind of giving people what they want is a humbling thing, I think.
And I think a lot of artists, especially going to art school, like I've had so many friends that are like, they have this problem where they don't think their art is either worth it, or like they have trouble like charging stuff. Like they'll be charged like $50 to do something that's like, I don't know, like they think they're going to get shut down.
They underprice themselves.
Yes. Yeah. Like they lowball themselves. And it's pretty sad. It's like, you're not going to, people are only going to take you seriously depending on how you project your own self, I feel like. So it's like,
definitely,
you know, I agree, especially starting out, like you don't want to like lose a job by pricing too much, and people have that fear. But at the end of the day, like, do you want people to see yourself as like someone who's like bumping out 50 pieces of artwork for like $35 and it's from pretty low demand, or do you want to see yourself as like a Picasso where you're like, you know, doing really dope work, you know? And I just think people have much more control over how established, what am I trying to say? People have much more control over their image from other people than they like to think, I think.
No, I think you're totally right. And as a freelancer myself, I definitely relate to that. And also during COVID, going back to what we were talking about earlier of how it's kind of changed a lot of things for the freelancing industry. I was able to actually start freelancing full time and quit my other 9-to-5 job during COVID, which was crazy.
Congrats.
And not trying to, you know, flex or anything, but it's just, I think it's cool for the industry.
Just flex, real quick, just flex.
Yeah. Bam.
There you go.
There it is.
Double bicep.
Completely lost my thought because of that. What's that? Oh yeah, with the To The Gone convention. That's right. In Texas, these bad boys are legal in Texas.
You guys are in Texas?
But yeah, we are in Texas.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't even think I knew that. Did you guys? What part?
Oh yeah, I didn't say that. Jeez.
What part of Texas?
We're in DFW, Dallas Fort Worth area.
Denton.
Wow.
We're like North Texas.
Yeah. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Sir. Yoo-hoo. Y'all. Anyway.
Yeah, we haven't used y'all. Sorry about that.
I know. Dang.
Yeah, we should have used more.
Because there's only one of you. Probably. But all that to say, I completely lost my thought.
It goes. I think what you're trying to say, it goes down to kind of knowing your worth. And once you know your worth, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That reminded me of it. So yeah, I've like setting your own rates was very uncomfortable for me whenever I was first starting. Cause just like you were saying, I was like, you know, I'll do this for like $50, honestly. But like my mentor, who was like giving me a lot of work and stuff, was like, dude, you don't need to sell yourself short. Like, what would you pay for your work? Like, do you think your work is actually good? And I was
good question. Yeah. What would you pay for your?
Yeah. Like I do think what I do is good. And do you think it's better than anyone else off the street? Like, yeah, I'd hope so. I do think so. And so it's like a little bit about self-confidence, but also humbling yourself and not getting too much of an over exaggerated ego, because that's how you lose jobs.
Yeah,
for sure. But it was a very new thing for me.
Right.
For sure.
Definitely, man. Yeah, I think
is there any way? Go ahead.
I was just saying, a lot of people like, because I think what you're doing is you're like, the people are doing themselves a disservice by just kind of being like, well, there's two things. One, I think you're hurting yourself by just saying like, yeah, I'll do that for $50, like whatever, it doesn't matter, because you're hurting your own brand that you're trying to build, even though you might not know it. Like, people are going to associate you with the guy that's like, oh, he's cheap, like he said he'd do whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So even if your work is sweet, they're going to just like, I'm one of those people that fall victim to like, I'll buy the same shoe that's like $150. It's the same shoe as like $45, literally the same shoe. I'm like, I'd just rather get the $150 one. It just seems nicer. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's a real marketing technique of like,
Mm-hmm.
Not to say I wouldn't rather, in this case, I'd probably, if I'm hiring an artist and they're offering me like $50 versus like 2,000. Yeah. But like,
Sure.
they're not only hurting their image, but they're hurting like the industry, I think. Cause you got so many people nowadays, and some of them are really good, who just will be charging nothing. So it's like, of course, I feel like that's hurting, just the industry as a whole. Good for the consumer, I guess, but bad for the general, artist.
Yeah. I think people generally understand when they're hiring someone in this field like a freelancer. They kind of understand like, this is how this person makes a living, and they don't work every single day 40 hours a week and get them hourly. Like, it's different. You kind of got to live off of what you get. And they they know whenever they ask themselves like, why are they selling themselves short? Like, what is it about them that they want to offer their stuff for so little money? Is it not good? Are they not confident?
Right.
Like, they think about that same thing too. So it's important to definitely not sell yourself short.
Totally. You guys have an Instagram for this podcast or not?
We do.
We do.
What is it?
It's called
Not Network Pod.
Not Network Pod.
Not Network.
Check out the brand. Check out the brand. We're about to do a little rebranding ourselves.
I think so. Patrick Foley started following you. Sick.
Oh, bat.
Bat.
Appreciate it.
Oh, you got to interview Lane Barrett?
For real, dude.
Yeah, we did.
I'm just kidding.
I was like, there's no way he knows her.
I know.
But yes, we did. The one and only.
Mm-hmm.
The one and only.
Dope.
Cookies.
Let me just tag you guys in this thing.
Oh, sick,
Awesome,
dude.
Patrick.
Appreciate it. So I got a question for you, Patrick. Where do you fail? Where do you find where do you fail? Yeah,
all the time.
Where do you find the confidence to really say that? Where is it from your history, or
I want to say what?
like where you come from? How to say I cost this much and this is my work and I know it's good shit. Where does the confidence come from?
Honestly, I think the confidence, specifically in my case, came from years of getting all of the, all right, I'll do it for like $100, $50. I mean, I got that. The thing with me is I got those phases out of my life when I was in high school because I was doing shit like so early. And I mean, it's harder to say when you're just beginning out in any kind of stage, but that was one of the big things. I mean, I was in a really fortunate position, and it comes down to just being able to be, I just happened to like fall into the my niche so soon, whether it was film. I knew it was like a creative industry. So I kind of got all those things that I needed to learn the hard way out, by the time I was like early college and like middle of college. And so someone who's starting out now, it's like, not only did I get that stuff out at the beginning, but I was able to have the courage we were talking about back in the day as well. Cause I still had the backbone of going to school. I wasn't like, it wasn't necessarily do or die yet. But like I had the, school to fall back on. Like I was still doing that. And I knew that at the time. So I was like, I'd rather kind of be, using the time that I have right now to be doing the stuff versus like, if I get a job and I'm like working 9 to 5, I'm not going to have time to like build a brand when I'm, when I graduate. So I kind of had that in the back of my head. But not a lot of people get to either know exactly what they want to do so early on or just be in that position.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Also on our podcast we have this segment called Explain the Tweet.
A tweet?
A tweet.
Tweet, yeah.
Yeah. And I was a little disappointed when going on Twitter and going on Patrick 4D, because there was only 114 tweets, and I was looking for a little bit more.
Oh yeah, I
more
like never use
stalking.
Twitter, man. Damn.
I'm so disappointed.
I kind of from the
I'm honestly
114, I really liked what I saw.
Yeah, you had some substance there though.
For sure.
Why do you not use Twitter as much? Because it seems like your kind of vibe would fit a lot of the Twitter folk.
I've heard that, man. I think it comes from my personal, like, I just never really fell in love with the interface, really, and like, I think it was more just that. Like, a lot of people loved Twitter when it came out. I never got a Twitter when it first came out, even though my friends got one. I didn't really, because I was like, all right, I just got into Instagram. I'm not trying to learn a whole new social media back in the day. So I never actually just like took the time and like really got into it. But I do know, I know it's like still like a really poppin' thing. Same with like Reddit. I never got into Reddit.
I never got into Reddit either.
Yeah.
I'm not a Reddit guy.
You seem like a
I
Reddit
recently
guy.
got into Twitter. I'm a Reddit guy.
You seem like a Reddit guy.
Which one?
I do
Jimmy
dabble.
does?
Like,
Jimmy, yeah.
like every 1 week or so, I like hop in and I ask on the Cinema 4D Octane forum, how do I get rid of hot pixels? And so then I get like a bunch of people responding and saying like, go look in the manual or something like
You're
that.
stupid.
Yeah,
Shut up. You suck.
And then then I go hide away back in my shell.
There you go.
So
Reddit sounds like a great place.
but you posted this at 11:02, May 22nd, 2017. You got 6 likes. At the gym, getting swole. Girl-guy ratio is not favorable. That is all.
That was when?
2017.
May 22nd.
May 2017. May 22nd.
That was my, that was is that my actual Twitter?
Yeah. Oh, it's Patrick
4D.
4D. Do you have another one?
Oh. Wow, I didn't even remember posting that. That was 2017, so I was in,
Yeah.
I was in college. Was there like a picture with it or just a?
No, you just tweeted that. The tweet right before says, let me pull it up. It says something like, "I just got Twitter. Is this what y'all do? Just post your thoughts every 10 minutes?" And then you continue to post your thoughts for like a good 4 tweets. It's great, honestly. But what I really am stoked about is you got a reply from Lifetime, and it says, "If you want, we would be thrilled if you visit Lifetime. Try this complimentary pass." And there's no acknowledgement to it, and I just think that's a sweet move to do. Just like
Lifetime Fitness?
Lifetime.
Wow.
A big verified chain, and you didn't like it, you didn't comment. It's just like there, and they just had to let that sit.
Is that a
on this
normal
tweet that
thing
got
to get
6
like
likes.
tweets from like big? No.
It depends on the company. Like especially on
depends on the
Twitter,
brand.
they interact with a lot of people because that's just how they go viral and that's how they do their
like
branding.
Wendy's roast. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Lifetime. Poor Lifetime out there trying to contact Patrick.
I guess they just like go into the Twitter search bar and just search Jim, and then they just go and reply to everyone. That
I guess I have to explain that tweet. I was roasting people that use Twitter. I think that's like the explanation of that one.
Good. Nice. What is your ideal girl to guy ratio in the gym? Because this one was not favorable.
13-1.
13-1. That's so 13 girls to 1 guy.
Yeah, that's pretty much going to SCAD. That's like SCAD. It's like
really
SCAD. I'd say it's like 5-1, 4-1.
Wow.
Seems like it at least. I mean, there were a ton of girls that went to SCAD.
Yeah.
I think we've learned a lot today.
I've learned so much.
I'm just kidding about 13-1. That's too much. I don't know. Like
it's already, you already said it. It's set in stone.
13-1. That's your
actually
final
no.
answer.
1 to
That's what I'm
13.
looking
Actually,
for now.
1 to 13. It's a
1
challenge.
to 13.
Oh, hey, okay.
That seems a lot more like that's what I see in the gym.
Yeah,
also,
that's what I would
1
see
to
in the gym
13.
as well.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That's a great answer.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us,
Yeah.
Patrick. I thought
Definitely,
this was good.
For sure.
Lending us your time, we very much appreciate it.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end. There ain't no more. Unless I see Patrick once more. Guys, thank you. Patrick, thank you for coming on the podcast. I just want to remind everybody we're not networking, we're making friends here, and just super stoked that I got to talk to my 3D dad. Also, he just came out with some cool and dope HDRIs. It's a pack. He's coming out. I think there's like six HDRIs, but they're like 6K full res, super cool. We'll have it linked in the show notes. Check it out because honestly, his lighting is immaculate. Just to gossip one of my boys. But anyways, thanks for listening, guys. Have a good one.
Hell yeah.